Can you guys see my screen? Let me put it on present mode.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Cool. Okay, hi everyone. Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks, Favor. Thanks, Jibril. Thank you for making our time here Saturday to join this conversation. I'm sure the thing is being recorded, so even those who are able to join will get a chance to catch up on the recording as well. So, so just as Onye said, I'll be speaking to you guys on empowering youth for transparent governance, harnessing civic tech and media for accountability. And as Onye rightly said, we are living in, I won't even say it's a tech period, we're living in a hyper realistic world now with technology, the good of technology and AI. And there's so much that we can achieve for those of us who work in this governance space. And so I've broken the presentation into two parts. The first part, we talk about what I think the attitudes that I think you need to be able to hold government accountable, right? There are some things you need to build. There's some things you need to know about, this space before you can hold government accountable effectively. And then I'll then talk about, at the second part, the tools and the skills that you need, and then we'll close with the action plan that I think each and every one of us basically would be able to follow while we are thinking about holding our local, states, federal, and in cases international governments accountable. So I will get right into it now. So I don't know if anyone saw this picture sometime last year. Did anyone see this picture last year? Did anyone see this picture? For those people who are on Twitter, you probably saw this because it was a trending photo sometime last year. So this photo is one of the Gen Z protesters in Kenya, because last year Kenya had a very huge protest. Think of it like the NSAS in Kenya, right? They had a huge protest. There's a finance bill that the president had put forward, and the bill was going to increase taxes for the people. They're going to tax things like pads, menstrual pads. Education was going to go. Cost of education was going to go high. So there were so many things that they were going to do, and so young people went into the streets and started to protest. And this photo came up because at the time the government the police started to shoot like tear gas at people. I mean, just as they do here, right? And this photo started to trend of this guy who was smoking from a tear gas canister. I mean, I don't endorse smoking, but just the act of defiance, became sort of like the theme for that campaign, and how it's possible for young people to actually demand and actually say that this is the kind of country that we want, and make sure that the president Ruto at the time was forced to listen to them. So the president didn't sign the finance bill because of how they were able to come out consistently. I think they did that for like 2 or 3 weeks, consistently protesting across the country. We've also had our own kind of like finance bill moments with NSAS. And since NSAS it's become sort of harder for people to protest, right? Because every time someone wants to protest, there's always like police all around. And, it begins to make you feel like you're defeated, right? Because they're arresting you. When you look at the end bad governance protests, for example, I mean, people were arrested, kids were even arrested. I mean, people were put in jail and stuff. And so the question now is, knowing the kind of role that protests play in the civic space, in holding government accountable, what are the other things that we can do to ensure that we hold government accountable and be effective? How do we ensure that government listens to us? If we can protest, we cannot protest. What can we do to ensure that we hold government accountable, keep them on their toes, and ensure that they do what we want them to do based on the demands that we have? And so I'm going to show you this this thing that kind of like speaks to the various ways citizens can have a political voice. And you see protests up here, right? There's protests, there's social movements. Social movements are like campaigns that have grown beyond just like a single protest. They become like a bigger ideology shaper, right? There's participatory decision making, which is like open governance. Nigeria is signed up to the Open Government partnership, which is like it's a platform, the international platform that brings together various governments around the world who pledge to be open. So they're supposed to carry citizens along when it comes to budget making, decision making, and stuff like that. Currently, it's just a theoretical thing. We're not practicing that, but that's also a way citizens are able to make their voices heard. There's also NGOs as well, right? NGOs are NGOs are also a way that, I mean, just like advocacy, also a way that you can make your voices heard, working through NGOs, being in communities and stuff like that. Media is very powerful. There's public fora where you have all these like conferences and events and summits. All of those things are ways where people are able to like shape ideology. There are access to information law, and I'll speak during the second section on freedom of information request, FOI request, as one of the things that we can use to basically like get information from government based on anything that you have suspicions that you have. Then there are political parties, and there's elections, and there's social media. And then when people eventually get elected in there, they're like electoral quotas. And within parliament, you can do things like petitions and stuff like that. So these are there are several ways to engage with policymakers. Most times we think of protests because protests are so like the quickest and most like if you block a street, everyone sees you, right? Like it's a very physical, in quote, tangible thing that people can sort of like say, okay, this is there are people out there. You have to do something about it. It's one of the fastest ways to be sort of able to get attention of government. But there are so many other ways, and I'm going to show you that there are organizations who have used several ways. I've worked on projects that we've used several ways to be able to get government attention, and we've been successful in those particular respects. So just keep this picture in mind. I mean, I use this to set the foundation for the conversation, but keep this in mind, knowing that it's a broad in this civic space. It's a broad space, and there's so many ways that you can engage. There's not one single way. Okay, so but before you engage, and this is the first section, before you engage, there's some things that I think you need to know first. Right? First things first. The first thing I think is that you need to build your knowledge. A quick pop-up quiz. Everyone, who is your local government chairperson? Without Googling, like in the next 3-4 seconds, just type the name of your local government chairperson inside there for me in the chat section. Anybody? There might or might not be a prize for who? For who was the first or second person to do this? Mohammed Aliyu. Yes, Aliyu has, I said Mohammed Aliyu, the chief executive officer of local government. Yeah, no, I'm not. I can't remember. I'm not asking you to tell me who the local government chairperson. I'm saying who is your local government chairperson, like from your own local government. What's the name of the person? Amazing. You can see Yusuf Salisu, Kano Municipal LJ in Kano. Thank you, Abu Salam. I like how you explained it, and you told us no local government as well. Second question: who are the senators and House of Rep members representing your states? Some states have 4, some have 6. Some actually have as much as 10. So in your states, who are the senators and House of Rep members? Just mention the ones that you know. Amazing. Larry, Jamilu. Amazing. Also, the last question: what is the budget allocation, 2025 budget allocation for healthcare in your states? I don't expect you to know this one offhand because like that would be very impressive if you if you do. But if I ask you what the budget allocation for healthcare in Nigeria, most people know that it's under 5% of the national budget, right? But the question is, do we even like sometimes questions to say, okay, we get stuck in the national conversation and forget the states and local conversation, right? So these are kind of things that you actually need to know. You need to build your knowledge of governance, of policy, of current affairs, of everything happening around you, basically, right? And let's see. And let's see if there are some platforms that you can use to do this. And I have that in the next slide. I've listed, these are not all of the platforms. Trust me, there's so many platforms out there. Well done, well done. I can see all of the chats and all of the comments in the chats. So I mean, I'm excited that you're taking on steps to actually know this, and this is something you should know offhand, so that they call you in the night, you know the person's name, you know how to reach the person, you know what the person does, etc., and you're able to engage your policymaker in that light, because they actually represent you. They are working for you. As opposed to what we have, that's more an inverted pyramid. So that is usually where you are the one on top, and they report to you because what is being used to pay them is the public money. So these are some platforms that I think you can, and I added links here. I'm sure Oye would share the deck with you guys after the session. Feel free to click on these links and go to these platforms. They have information. Other people has news information about parliament and what's happening in parliament. Budgets has information around the Nigerian budget. And state budget, they have the state of state reports that talks about the various state budgets and how the states are doing. Any NES group, that's the NESG, one of the places that I work. The NESG has an academy where you can learn things about development and policy, right? What is theory of change? What are these things around policy and development? And you can take courses around on the academy. At Policy Shapers, we also do a policy Saturday class. We were consistent about the last year and the year before. We're planning the classes for this year as well. So Saturday class, just like this class, and we teach policy tools, ideas, tools. What are the like words people use in this in the policy space, and now you can basically like become an expert in that space. So all of the videos from those sessions are recorded and they're on YouTube. Civic as well has information. So yeah, so there's so many platforms like Policy. There are many of them that you can use to be able to build your knowledge on this respect. But you need to build knowledge, because if you don't have knowledge, you argue, and your arguments are usually empty. You can't really hold someone to account if you don't really know what you're saying, right? So I think that's the base thing that we should take out of this conversation. The second step is that you should build your network. You need to build your network. You need to be able to meet like minds, just like advocacy's community, right? Meet like minds, people who think like you, people who want to solve problems in their community like you, people who are already doing things in this space, and basically can support you, can tell you how, oh, this is how I wrote my letter that the person responded, or this is what I did, I made the person to do this, those kind of things, right? You need to also volunteer as organizations. I personally feel like I hold one of the biggest records for volunteering in this country. I've volunteered at so many organizations. Starting out when I was 17, 18, 19. I volunteered for events, for organizations, for projects. And there are times when I actually didn't even have like transport fare to go to events, to go volunteer. But you would trek and go do something for free and then trek back. But I think like the experience and the fulfillment and the fact that you're doing something much more larger than yourself, I think has always driven me as a person. So volunteering helps expand your network as well. Met many people. There are many people like in all the organizations, in civic organizations in Nigeria, especially those that work in the governance space. There's no one that I don't know. I know some of them up to like knowing like their new staff as well. Because I've been part of processes where staff are being selected as well. So like just doing things for others always it helps you to get into people's hearts and get into people's networks. So I think that's something I'm going to definitely advise you guys to also do based on how much time you have. Also use LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn, I know this is getting very crowded now and very noisy. Everyone posting their achievements, right? But I think LinkedIn is a good place for you to also find people. All of those walls. Most people respond to their LinkedIn DMs compared to any other like social media platform. It is LinkedIn and Twitter or X. It's a platform I see people use personally a lot. So yeah, so like leverage those platforms. There's someone you want to connect to. Could be someone who's a fellow change maker like you, or could even be like a government person, right? Use these platforms as ways to build your network, because it's a network that then helps you reach the people that you want to reach, and also ask the questions that you definitely want to ask as well. This is my career journey map. I've spoken about this in the past, about how every So I've worked with more than 35 organizations over the past 15 years. Every job I'd gotten had come from the existing job that I had. Like every new thing that I've done as a new. When I was on the British Council's board, it came out because I did something on the British Council before. When I did, there's this work I did with the Cancer Aurora Foundation. It came out because of the work I did with Global Shapers, and Global Shapers led me to the SDN, and the SDN led me to the Cancer Aurora Foundation. So like all of you, I mean, if you do a map of yourself, so you will see that everything that you have done usually does grow out of a relationship, a skill that you build somewhere, something that you did that had built into a particular thing. So it's very important in this development space to have integrity, to be able to build integrity, build what for yourself, because it's a very small space. Everyone is connected. So if one group knows you as someone who has done something bad, chances are the news is going to spread really fast across that space, and everyone is going to just like blacklist you and stuff like that. So very, very important to keep that in mind. And also see the connections. I use them as bridges, to the next phase of your career. So that's building your network, right? Talked about knowledge first, network, and the third one is stay in touch with the news. I know it's not like trendy to watch the news anymore, right? Because I know that growing up, like 9 o'clock news and 8 o'clock news and stuff used to be like the way we get information, right? I mean, I remember when I was a child, because I spent quite a chunk of my childhood living with my grandmother. And my grandmother is a serious news junkie, right? She always listened to the news. She always knew what was happening everywhere in the world. Like she was always connected, right? And I think that's just staying with her. I think just forcing me to watch the news with her. She gave me a journal to write down the big words I don't know, and then give me a dictionary to find the words. It was annoying and stressful then. All of that has been useful to me, even as I've grown up in my own career, right? And I've also built a news habit. If you want to work in this space, you need to have a news habit to be able to know what's happening. You need to be current before you even know what to advocate for. You need to even know what is even happening. What is the allocation for a particular place? Has the person spent the money? Is the project commissioned? Was it done well? Was it not done at all? And then they reported in the news that it was done. Those kind of things. I think they need to be current at every minute. There are several news platforms. I won't like promote any of them. There's so many of them. One of the ways that I'm able to like get information from all the various platforms is to use Google News. There's an app called Google News. It aggregates all of the platforms for you, so you can like set Nigeria or any country as your location, and it will help you find information around that space. And you have like different news platforms. There's also like social media where you can follow the news accounts, and then you'll be able to like see when something comes up. But I think the major thing is just keeping your ears and eyes and everything and your nose open for like new information, new things, what's happening, what's going on. You don't have to be a journalist, but all of that will make sure that you're always on top of your game and that you know what's going to come up next in this development space. That's staying in touch with music. Final point is stay in touch with decision makers. Decision makers are, I mean, senators and governors and local government chairpersons and presidents, etc. And I think that for you to be able to like advocate for transparent governance, you need to be able to know what these people are doing at every given time, especially the ones that concern you. You might not need to know what every senator in Nigeria is doing. That's a lot of time. You might not need to know everything, but know what the people that you work with, the people that are representing you, what are they saying? What are they doing? Are they sponsoring a bill? Have they even mentioned the issues that are happening in your community in the State House of Representatives, State House of Assembly, or the Federal House of Representatives? What are they doing? You need to be able to know. There are some cases where they are not on social media, true. There's some cases where they might prefer to use radio more, true. And I'll speak about radio shortly. There are cases where they might need to use other platforms. But if they are on social media, you need to be able to connect with them and know what's happening, So making sure that you're staying in touch with them is one step. The second step is there's something called a power map. So when you have an issue, right, and you have a decision maker who can influence this particular issue, below that decision maker, there are many other smaller decision makers who can help you influence that decision maker, right? So the power is shared across the map. It's usually like a tree, right? It has so many branches, and on the tip of the tree, you have the decision maker that you want to reach. And I have an example here in the next slide. One of the campaigns I've worked on over the past 4 years is the Reform IELTS campaign, where we've been engaging the UK government to stop asking us to write English tests. Because first of all, I think it's ridiculous because we're all colonized by the British, and data actually shows data from like universities and school programs in our respective countries show that English is a medium of instruction and that there's no need why we should be doing this, because also the UK exempts like countries like Jamaica and Barbados that go from writing the test, but do not exempt any country in Africa. So to make change on this issue, we add the Home Office, that is the UK's Ministry of Interior, as the decision maker that we want to influence. Right? They are there at the top. You can't just go. I mean, Home Office is in London. You can't just like walk into the moment and just say, "Hey, I need you to change this." Right? But there are other smaller like branches on this power map that we can begin to like engage as ways to make a change. So one of the branches is that I applied to join the British Council's Youth Advisory Board, and I represented West Africa for a year plus on that board. And by joining the board, I was then able to meet with the British Council's program board, which is like the British Council's overall board that leads their program around the world, right? And one of the things we did was to table this issue of IELTS to the British Council, right? I also joined the Queen, the Queen before she died, now the King is in charge, but the Queen had this Commonwealth essay competition that's been running for the past 100+ years. And they put out that they needed like volunteers to volunteer as their jury, people who will be part of the judges who will judge the essay competition. So I applied as well. And mind you, that's a competition. We have many young Africans who actually do take part in that competition and win, right? Many of them. And they still should write English test. Anyway, so I joined there and used that forum as one of the ways to also raise this issue of IELTS as well, right? Because I was speaking about that, I was speaking to the media. We also connected with the Ghanaian member of parliament who raised this issue on the floor of the Ghanaian parliament, which helped us to also engage the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to say that Ghana is talking about this already. We are leading this campaign. Our own country is not saying anything. Ministry of Foreign Affairs accepts our recommendation and petitions to the Home Office, etc. And that again, it gives us another leverage and step, which then leads us to speak to the vice president, the former vice president, about this issue, who also then helps us to speak about this to the Home Office. So you can see how all of these steps are leading. We also spoke to universities. Actually, as a matter of fact, 37 universities now have exempted English-speaking Africans from writing these English tests. You have 37 of them across the US, UK, and Canada. It began from us speaking to them about how we think that this should change, and because the National Midwifery Council in the UK, so the UK government cares a lot about their like health sector, right? The NHS, that's one of their biggest sectors. They've been struggling to figure out getting nurses because they have an aging population. So that's why you have many Nigerian and African nurses going to the UK to go work, right? So notice that that's something that they really care about. And the NMC also had their own list of countries that they felt were English speaking, and there was no African country there. So we started to engage them and also engage universities because we knew they cared about health. If we could change the policy for the Midwifery Council, that will also influence the overall government's thoughts as well. So you can see all of the steps, right? They're speaking to different people at the same time, using different people as a branch, as a lever to engage who you want as your final decision maker.
Hi, Ebenezer, are you there? We cannot hear you anymore. Or is it just me? Can anyone hear him?
No, we can't hear.
Okay.
We can't hear him.
Okay, you probably have a network. That just give him a bit of time.
Clip is lost. I'm so sorry. Where did you stop? Hope I wasn't rambling to myself. Where did you stop? What did you hear last?
I think the part about having conversations with different people to be able to get to the final decision makers. So
Okay. All right, sure. Let me just try to reshare my screen. Give me a sec. Sorry about that. Yeah. So I was telling the story of the governor that we tried to see. Long story short, we were trying to see him every time we got appointments. We couldn't see him. It was the governor's pastor, the priest, or the governor's parish that we just went to see him and say, "Good day, sir. Blah, 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 blah. We have been trying to meet this guy for a long time. Oh, we need His Excellency to approve this particular project we've been working on." etc. And he says, "Oh, he wants him to, should I call him now?" And we say, "Okay." We say, "Okay, sure. Like, if it's possible." 10 minutes, guys. I mean, 10 or 15 minutes. We just heard siren, "Wah!" And the guy just shows up. And we have the meeting that we've been chasing the guy for 3 months in the priest's office. So if we had done our research and found out that this priest is actually influential over this governor, perhaps instead of going to the chief of staff, we could have gone to the priest, and the priest would have helped us make this happen 3 months ago. So there's so much of this kind of power dynamics when it comes to engaging people. So sort of understand who has influence over who, and who do you think you need to speak to first before you engage this person. So instead of taking some things to the governor's office might be very far. Maybe it's even like the mayor of the city or the local government chairperson first, and that begins to build the momentum that you need before you take it on to the state level. So that's just an example of how power map and power dynamics work. Okay. Yeah. So this is the video of that person speaking about the campaign. Let me just share this for you guys to watch before we move on to the next section. Your Excellency, as a group, we have supported the Reform IELTS policy, #Reform IELTS policy campaign, because despite being a former British colony, citizens from Nigeria are still made to write English proficiency examinations that cost as much as $250, and their results expire every 2 years. This practice has gone on for over 40 years, and would love for you to lend your voice to this campaign.
Reform of the IELTS policy. I agree entirely that, first of all, as an English-speaking country, we should be beneficiaries of some concessions as opposed to being forced every 2 years to take the same test, especially if you had passed it once before. So I think this is something that we should really work on, and this is a point that we can follow up. We'll certainly I'll ask the Minister of Education and Youth and Sports as to what exactly is going on about this.
Your Excellency, as a group. Yes. So so that was how the engagement happened, and that was one of the power dynamics that we leveraged on to be able to make that happen. And how was I able to speak to the former vice president? Because I was a Mandela Washington Fellow, just as all of you are community member with advocacy. And our fellowship group got the chance to pay courtesy visits to the former vice president. And I was nominated on behalf of my cohort to speak for one of our tracks. And yes, that's how it happened. So remember what I said about network, right? Being in the right spaces, knowing the right people, building the right knowledge, all of those things always come together in the end, and staying in touch with your decision makers. And also because I knew, the former vice president is a very smart man, he's a professor, and I knew that I was going to be definitely interested in that particular topic, and so that was why I raised that as well. So power map, knowing all of those things are very key. So I'll talk about the tools next, but I just want to know if you guys had any question, any thoughts on the first section before I move on to the section on the tools. I'll talk about the various tools I think you can use, civic, tech, and media tools. And any questions or thoughts? Any none? Should I go ahead here?
yeah, I think you can go ahead. So if we have any questions, we can just ask or drop them in the chat, right? So that we can Ebenezar can respond to them.
Okay, perfect. All right. So just moving on. So now I've told you about the attitudes I think you need to have, right? Building knowledge, building network, staying in touch with the news, that's staying current affairs as I call it, and also stay in touch with your decision maker to know what you're doing at every given time. Now, there are tools that you can use. to be able to make your engagement possible, right? And I'll talk about some of these tools as well, and then I'll talk about our action plan. The first tool is the FOI request. So the FOI request, which is also known as the Freedom of Information requests, was made possible by a law in 2011, which actually was sponsored by, I don't know if you know, she's currently in charge of the Diaspora and Commission, Abike Dabri, one of the people who sponsored this particular bill. And I mean, she being a former journalist must have figured that she had times when she was a journalist trying to get information and it didn't work. And so, yes, this bill was sponsored, became an act. And what this act allows is that you can write to any government office seeking information about their public records. So it could be their finances, it could be their procurement, who did they work with, so who did they give contracts to, it could be their hiring principles, who have they hired, when last they do recruitment and stuff like that. You see an example that I put here on the right, because one of the organizations that have used this tool a lot is Code. Some of you might know Code, Connected Development, and Follow the Money. They use the FOI request a lot as a way to get public records into the public and say, so this letter here is from Cross River State. I think they're asking the vice chancellor or the rector of the university, the vice chancellor, yes, they're asking him to publish the audited financial statement of the university. And says, put it on the university website and social media. Let's see what the audited statement says. Many universities do not publish audited statements, but the FOI request allows you to be able to do that. And I put a link here. So there's an article on Law Party that sort of like tells you about the steps to take when you write an FOI request. So you can definitely look at that once Onyi shares the deck with you. Serap does it. Code do it. You can write an FOI request as an individual or as an organization. So so that's one tool that I think is very, very powerful to be able to bring out. Because you're backed by law. You're not just saying, hey, my name is this, bring out this information. But the FOI Act actually backs you. And if they refuse to do it, the Act actually prescribes that they could be tried in courts for not responding to you. So that's a tool I think is very useful when you think of accountability. The second tool is petitions, right? Petitions work differently in all parts of the world. Well, in most parts of the world, petitions are very, very powerful too. In Nigeria, they are currently used as so I want to show you guys something. UK petition parliament, yes. Parliament petitions platform. So I'll try to share this page like I'm currently seeing. Share this tab instead. So the UK government has a petition platform where citizens in the UK can petition the government on a particular issue. If that petition gets, I think, 150,000, so 10,000. Good, they even wrote it here. Petition gets 10,000 signatures. The government is mandated by law to respond to that petition. That's in writing or in some way, maybe through the news or something, but they must respond to the issue that you raise. If it gets 100,000 people say, it will be considered for debates in Parliament, and you'll be invited on that day where the issue is being debated to ensure that you're satisfied. So if 100K people sign a particular petition, that's that. And this is the UK's petition platform, which is what our National Assembly is supposed to be. And a few years ago, I was working at change.org. We were beginning to engage the National Assembly to find ways to make this happen, where the Assembly can, we can say the top 10 petitions on change.org from Nigeria, they should have a special section maybe on Thursdays where they review petitions, and then the committee that should address this as their own committee sitting, and then people who raise petitions can then go into the Parliament to talk about this. Sadly, we didn't make as much progress, so that's why. Because the question we usually get whenever we talk about petitions, that people always say, "Oh, petitions do not really work. I just start the petition and people just sign, and then it ends there." Why? Like how do I make things happen? It's because we currently don't have law that's mandates the National Assembly to respond to petitions. Hopefully we get there soon. With the right people in government, we should be able to get there. But currently, what you can achieve with a petition is that you're able to raise awareness on a particular issue, right? You're also able to show that it's not just one person that cares about this, but 80,000 people care about this. 5,000 people care about this, so you're showing consensus. You're showing that it's not just a singular person's effort, but many other people are saying something because there are comments people will drop and everything about the particular issue. Also, petitions can also help you get the attention of the media. And I'll show you an example from the Reform IELTS campaign and how we sort of like use this petition to be able to get people's attention. And then the media also picked it up as well. Without us doing anything, media just saw the petition and then picked the issue up. So petitions also help you do that. And then they help you to also showcase that you have the support of other individuals on this particular issue. It's not just me saying there's many other people are here. And I put a link here for people that want to learn how to study petition on change.org. There are many other petition platforms. By the way, there's iPetition and Co. Feel free to check out the one that works for you best. I'm not putting change.org because I work there, but because I worked there in the past. But it seems to be one of the easy platforms to be able to use to start petitions. So petitions is I think another tool. May not be as effective in getting the government, but it will get the media, which the government cares about. Every government person cares about how they look in the media. So if you can get the media to talk about a particular issue, you will definitely get their attention. So that's second tool. The third tool is in infographics. So budgets, as I mentioned, uses this tool very well. Posting things about the budget, posting information out there. Budget is very, very good at using infographics. And we created an infographic that also helps to make the campaign go viral. Okay, Abdul Salam, you have a question? I can see Abdul Salam's hand is raised. Is it a mistake or do you have a question?
Thank you, sir, for this information. You really deserve the commendation. My name is Abdusalam Haruna Sliaman from Kano State. In regard to this freedom of information request, most of MDS, ministry, department, and agencies, when you send a letter to them, request some certain information, they are denied to provide that specific information that you need. Is there any legal vacuum that you can take that that ministry or department or agency to court?
Yes, you can, but going to court alone is expensive, right? What you can then do is to get organizations like SERAP on that issue. So what I spoke about earlier about building your own network. So maybe because one Abdul Salam might sound, just a young boy, why am I listening to Abdul Salam? They might feel like they're not scared of you, but maybe if you notice that they don't respond, maybe you get advocacy to also join their voice to it. Advocacy then adds maybe code or budget as well to mention this particular issue. And it's reposted everywhere and it gets on the media. I think all of that, like building that kind of force and pressure will make them do it as opposed to just, one you or one me, just asking them. So I'll say find support from other voices, get people within this community, for example, to begin to also share on their social media, the letter, the scanned copy of the letter, and say, XYZ ministry, why haven't you said this? Government people, once they know that it's not just a small conversation anymore, they always take things seriously. Once they know that other people know about this and that it's really going to go viral, and that they could really be embarrassed by this issue, they will definitely sit up. So I'll say just find other voices to support you on it. Maybe post it in your advocacy community as well to help you.
Okay. If I understand you, I supposed to have a strong collaboration with other organizations in order to achieve that target.
Yes.
Go alone.
Instead of just going alone, yes. Exactly.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Yes. I mean, in an ideal sense, right? In an ideal sense, you don't need any other organization. You should just be able to just go and then you ask and then they give to you. But we know that we live in Nigeria. It's not an ideal country, right? I mean, it's not an ideal country.
That's what I thought. Since it is a law.
It's a law, yes. I mean, there are many things that are law in Nigeria that are not being followed. Law is not being implemented in the way it's supposed to be, right? I'm just telling you how you can walk around it, right? And sadly, hopefully we get to the point where we actually do respect laws and MDs and whatever, people who work in government actually respect laws. It doesn't matter who's asking, they definitely respond. But till we get there, these are some of the ways we can walk around. We can walk around it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Thanks. Thank you so much for that question. It's a very good question. Okay, so I was talking about infographics, right? I talked about how infographics are very key. Infographics basically are graphical way. It's a graphical way to represent data, to tell people a particular story. So the story we're trying to tell here on this graphic, when we are doing the Reform IOS campaign, is that we put the cost of the test across Anglophone Africa, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, etc., and how much it costs, and then put the poverty rates in these respective countries to say that whilst the UK government charging these countries this amount of money, or citizens from these countries, when you do claim that we're actually poor, and that was all we did. We just did that and posted it on social media, and it just went viral because people were just like downloading it and sharing on their WhatsApp, sharing on Twitter, share everywhere. And even the media picked up. You're going to see the video shortly, but even the media picked it up. So I think that like infographics can help to evoke emotions. They can help people to realize certain things, cause some kind of realization. If you design it really well, it will also catch the media's attention. And I put a link here when you get the slides. It's a free online infographic maker by Canva. You just put in the information and then Canva makes the infographic for you. You can also use Canva a lot to make, because we made this infographic on Canva. I made this infographic on Canva and I don't have any special design skills. So so it's something you can play your hands around. And as a way to communicate whatever it is you're saying. So for example, if Abdul Salam's FYN request is asking for something around the budget, he makes an infographic as well in addition to this, to say timeline of a campaign, for example, and say research first, second stage, sends FYI request on so dates. Then he puts the new date and say waiting for so government to respond, and then shares that on social media. Everyone else says, for 4 months you've not responded, why? And everyone begins to ask questions, and then that's how you can build consensus and momentum on your particular issue. So so we share this infographic, and then Arise News picked the issue up. We didn't know anybody at Arise News. We didn't know of Fire and anyone there, and they just picked the issue up, and then that's how the campaign also became a national conversation. So I'll just show you that video shortly, and then we'll move on to the next point.
Well, let's talk about the fact that over 26,000 Nigerians have signed a petition on change.org to stop the demand for English proficiency tests from Nigerians looking to travel abroad for studies or work. Now, this petition, which was initiated by policy shapers, was titled "Stop Asking Nigerians to Write IELTS." Now, in this petition, which was addressed to the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom, Priti Patel, the group Policy Shapers said the UK Home Office, which has 18 countries on its list which are exempted from writing the test, should apply the same to Nigeria and other Anglophone countries on the continent. Apart from that issue, it also argued that a test that costs more than 3 times the minimum wage and the result expires in 2 years should not be required of Nigerians, since the country is predominantly English speaking. What are your thoughts on this? I'm going to begin with Rufai.
I mean, my thoughts on this, Kachi, I just want to put it into context. I think we should stop writing IELTS because it's a way to fleece us off in Africa for a language the colonialists came to teach us and they taught us well. Cost of IELTS exam in Anglophone Africa versus poverty rates, just hear it, Kachi. In Ghana, it will take you $283 to write IELTS test. Poverty rate 55.1. In Kenya, it will take you $248. Poverty rate 86%. Uganda $313. Poverty rate 87%. Botswana $280. Poverty rate 59.1. Nigeria $202. Poverty rate 92%. Zimbabwe $304. Poverty rate 82.8%. Namibia $310, poverty rate 51%, South Africa $286, 56.9%. I think everybody should go out there and sign that petition. This must stop. This is colonialism part 2. Nigerians are proficient in English even more than some British people, because you'll be shocked. A lot of British people themselves don't speak the language. A lot of them, their first language were probably Kemru or.
Okay, so so you can basically see that he was speaking about this infographic and we didn't even tag him. So imagine if you tag journalists to the post that you actually make, that would help to bring more attention and this thing to your campaign. So infographics are really, really useful because they visualize whatever you want. You want the audience, the people who are supporting your campaign to basically say and follow. Okay, so that's number 3. So we are number 4 now. Now, number 4 is online discussions. Remember, there was a place called Public Fora as one of the ways, to engage the civic space, right? An online discussion is one of the ways of public fora. It became more popular during COVID, and we sort of like took that on after COVID. But having things like Facebook Live, Instagram Live, Twitter Spaces, X Spaces, LinkedIn Live, etc. These spaces kind of like help you to organize discussions and hold government people accountable. Because again, when there are some discussions that you organize online, if you have some good speakers, it can lead into the media. And again, like I told you, the goal always is to get to the media. Once you get to the media, the government will always listen to you. They might not act as fast on the issue that you're asking for, but you will definitely get their attention. They might also sometimes not even tell you that you have their attention, but whatever you say next after then, they will definitely take it a lot more seriously. So the media is a very powerful tool, especially in Nigeria, to be able to make that happen. So this is one of the online conversation that advocacy organized. I think this was last year, sometime last year in 2023, actually. And this was when we were discussing the review of the former president's second tenure. So yeah, so you can use things like X Spaces. For example, this community can tell Onye, hi Onye, want to have a conversation about the issue that Abdul Salam is asking the MDA for. And you host a Twitter space about it, bring speakers, Salam will be one of the speakers. Then all of you come together and talk about that. Say, oh, in my own state, this is how we're doing it. In this state, this is how it's happening. And then, that's one of the ways to bring conversation and maybe have a hashtag for it, bring conversation about the particular issue. Okay. So I put a link here, how to use X Spaces. You can read more about that in your spare time. The 5th point is op-eds and press releases. So organizations usually issue press releases about different issues. But I think as an individual, you can write op-eds. Op-eds are opinion editorials or opinion pieces, or we can probably call them blog pieces, whatever. But they're basically pieces that like reflect your opinion on a particular issue. I screenshotted this opinion piece I wrote for Daily Trust sometime last year when the rate of death of women was going high. So the key thing for opinion pieces is that you're trying to argue for a particular point. The point I was arguing for here was that many women are dying, especially when we're having a lot of domestic violence. I was like, damn Nigeria, how many more women have to die, before something is done? And I mentioned like the Lagos DSV and the efforts that are being made there, etc. So yeah, so you can write opinion pieces. Many news platforms, especially their online platform, would be happy to take these opinion pieces. If it's not sounding biased or it's not political, they will take these pieces and they'll publish it. So it's a way to also build for yourself your digital footprints as well. So that if someone Googles you, for example, if I Google Benedicta, what would I see? Would I just see only your Facebook and your Twitter? Or would I also see like other things about you? So when you begin to apply for things like fellowship programs and the likes, people can actually see that you built a footprint of impact over the years. It's not just like something you're just claiming that you've not done anything. So op-eds are usually between 500 and 800 words. Some might stretch it to like 1,000 words, but the shorter the better because of low attention spans. And the idea is that you're really either asking a rhetorical question or you're arguing for something, like you're pushing an idea usually through your opinion piece. So we did a policy Saturday class about op-eds. One of my friends and I at Policy Shapers, who, by the way, is an excellent writer. So you can check that out. We spoke about the ways we write op-eds, some tips and tricks from Harvard and co on how people can write op-eds. I linked the video here, so feel free to check that out. The 6th tool is Policy Memo. This is a tool that is quite a little bit more technical compared to the op-eds, but a Policy Memo basically is a concise piece of writing, usually under 1,000 words, addressed to a policymaker or policymakers who have the power to make a change in a particular issue. It's usually straight, short, and concise like an op-ed, but it has a lot more like graphs because you're arguing for a particular issue. So you have like graphs and charts, additional things to be able to like make your points known. And this is the screenshot on the right is a sample is a structure of a policy memo. It has the tool, which of course you mentioned who is this to. From will be from you or from your organization. The date you're writing the subject of the policy memo. The executive summary basically is like 50 to 150 words, basically talking about like what the policy memo is about. The background and context is basically like the current situation. What is this issue about? Why is this issue important? And then recommendation is like your ideas. So what should we do about it, basically, and you just explain that under there. Then finally, the urgency statement says, why should we do this now, not do this in 2 years' time? So you basically explain that if this is not done, what are the repercussions for society and also for the government? When you send this to government people, they will listen because this is a technical document. So first of all, they'll be like, this person is actually not just a random person, right? So they're sending me a policy memo. So it means that they're actually quite serious, and they would listen. They might send it to their PA to reach for them, but they will look at the ideas that you definitely share. And I think it's one of the ways that we've used as policy shapers to get the attention of quite a number of people in the National Assembly and stuff like that. So yeah, so I put a sample policy memo here for you to also look at. So yeah, and we have a policy Saturday class as well on how to write policy memos. So feel free to check that out in your spare time. Yeah, number 7, local radio. Look, trust me, guys, like this might be the most powerful platform. I know radio is not, in quote, fashionable anymore. It does seem that way, but it is still the biggest platform in Nigeria to reach people across urban and rural areas. Local radio is super powerful, right? So in building your network, I think one of the people that you need to definitely build relationships with is on-air personalities. And there's so many of them on social media, on Twitter, right? Find them on LinkedIn, on Twitter, find them. Listen to their show, tell them about your thoughts on their show, and stuff like that. That's the way I was able to build network with radio and TV personalities in my own states, in River States. Just like reach out to them. Don't just only ask for things. Usually we are used to just saying, "Oh, hi, can you help me?" Like, then I just listen to their show, give them feedback as well. Tell them about some ideas that you have for their show. People would be happy to help people that are useful to them, not just those that just come to ask for things all of the time. So yeah, so just like listen to the shows. You'll be driving, you could be maybe you're just waiting for something in the bank. Just put your earpiece and listen in. It's always a good place to be able to disseminate information because our former governor in Rivers State used to have people listen to, like him himself, because he's busy, might not listen to all of the programs, but he used to have people listen to shows and give him feedback on what people are saying. Like I know this because I used to work in university government in 2016. You will have people within the media to listen to their show and say, "Oh, somebody said that there's this road that's so place that was not done." And you say it's not true. "Oh, I've done it." And the next time he releases the press release, he would address that issue that the person said on one radio station a couple of weeks ago. So they actually pay attention to what people say about them. Most people do pay attention to what people say about them. So make sure that you're listening and make sure that you're finding ways to leverage that platform of radio to advocate for your issue. So make sure that local radio is part of your plans as well. The screenshot here is so for this IELTS conversation, right? Even though the campaign did pick up in 2022, 2021 and became really, really viral, in 2020, as far back as March 2020, I was having this conversation with radio folks in Port Harcourt about it as far back as March 2020. And that's one of the first ways that I got people to start talking about this particular issue before we started to make all these victories. So so radio is very powerful. I would say make sure you use.
Okay, I think Ebenezer is experiencing network issues. Let's just give him a bit of time. And while we, wait for him to be back, I'll just share the attendance form, so that we can all start filling it out, right, before the session ends. Please ensure to fill it before we leave, because I will not be sharing this form with the community. So, thank you.
Sorry, folks. The internet took me out again. What did you do?
Yeah, you were talking about the radio interviews, getting to know OAPs.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I was talking about radio being a very powerful tool, and how I think you should definitely like build a relationship with OAPs, make sure that you're leveraging radio because it's a good platform to get people to know about a particular issue, especially people who will not be on social media, especially people who might not have internet and stuff like that. So it's a good space to be able to do that. Yeah, so that's on local radio. Short videos, like I said, is key, especially like usually videos that trend are like all these like skits and things that are funny, right? So those of us that work in development, it's tough for us sometimes to think of how we can communicate what we do with videos, but I think we have to think of a way. If it means attending trainings and stuff, that's something I've personally been doing to be able to find ways to not to entertain, but to like inform people in a way that they understand, using videos and short videos that make sense to them. So I put a video here that we use for advocacy. And one thing with videos is that when the video is engaging, it goes viral really fast because everyone begins to share it really, really fast, right? So if you want to pass a message across, it becomes easy when people are sharing, reposting, resharing, and stuff like that. So this video that I did this video. I actually shot this video with my phone. I think I was using an Infinix phone at the time. I shot the video with my phone, edited the video with my phone, and also posted the video with my phone. This was in 2018, I think. It's a video from a community in the south in Nigeria. One of the Ogoni communities where oil had destroyed their community. So I'm just going to show you. This is not the ideal video. I'm just showing you that this is an example of how you can make a short, quick video. We were using like things like CapCut. Could be like a basic app like CapCut or Instagram or something just edits, but a video communicates much more than you write a long piece about things all of the time. So here it is. Okay, so that's an example of a short video. I honestly would like you to make something a lot more cooler, but that's it tells you how fast these things can basically go. It can go really viral if it's interesting, engaging, and people sort of find value in it. So that's the end of the second section. The last section is the action plan, but I just wanted to pause and ask if you have any question. The action plan is basically just like me wrapping up everything I said and telling you my personal story as well and some of the next steps I think you can follow and where I think you can start. But let me know if you have any questions about some of the things we've asked around short videos, local radio, writing a policy memo, op-eds and briefs, hosting online discussions, using infographics, writing petitions and how to use petitions on change.org, write an FYI requests, and how you can like galvanize more voices to support you, following the question that Abdul Salam asked. And then earlier I spoke about some of the like attitudes that you need to have, like understanding like power map, stay in touch with the decision maker, stay in touch with the news, volunteering a lot because it helps you build a very broad network. Building your knowledge through these platforms, and a lot more platforms out there, taking courses and these kind of issues so that it helps to build your knowledge in it as well. And don't forget that we're speaking about this because, like, we're saying, what are the other ways to engage the civic space beyond just protests? Because it's getting increasingly harder to do protests in Nigeria. So we have to be more creative and find ways to engage the government. Okay. So any questions or thoughts? Feedback? Favor? Okay, Favor, sure, please.
Yeah, so thank you so much for the insightful section so far. I actually have a question around information, misinformation, like misinformations, and if information easily being debunked. I think that has been one of those reasons I feel so discouraged to following up with news update. So I wanted to know if there is a way we can easily get information fact checked you get before we can, because it is something that kills my staying power, especially in the area of listening to news. So I wanted to know if there are ways we can actually access information that are fact checked easily. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Favor. That's a very good question. So there are many like fact-checking platforms coming up. There's Dubawa. I don't know if you guys know Dubawa. So Premium Times, I think. I'm not sure if it's Premium Times, but there's a organization that has a platform called Dubawa, dubawa.org, dubawa.org. There's also Africa Check and stuff like that. But in addition to using platforms, what I usually advise is first of all, I take news in an open mind and question everything. So if someone says this thing had been done, I'll be like, okay, I've heard you that it has been done, but I'll then start to question further and say, was it really done? Is there anyone living there that knows that it happened and stuff like that? So if there are people within my network, I begin to ask questions. Also, when people like share things on WhatsApp and I just like 4 to 5 people, 4 or 5 people to inform them about this. Before I usually do campaigns, I always read them first to be sure that what I'm even sending to another person, I'm not just being a fake news person and sharing news everywhere, but I'm actually sharing what is verified first. So you could use one of these platforms to check. So if there's a news story that you see online that you're not sure about, you could just go to Bauer to just see if they've like made a post about it. Usually on social media, they debunk things on social media. They'll say, okay, this news is real, this news is fake, and stuff like that. Africa Check also is another one I see people use often as well. But yeah, just stay curious and yes, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, stay curious and just always be alert as well, because people sometimes hide fake news inside real news as well. So just always be sure about what you're sharing as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for that question. Okay, so so if there are no more questions, I can just go ahead and share my story so that we can wrap up. So action plan. The question for you is, when can we start? I think the answer is now. Start now, start today. As some of you have already started, keep doing what you're doing. Amplify the work that you do. For me, campaigning and speaking about social issues goes as far back as when I was 19 years old. If you can see my arrow, that is me at 19 at the back. And I was organizing campaigns for various issues. One of the issues that I used to speak about then was exam malpractice, and how, especially organized exam malpractice, especially how we had secondary schools who would like organize malpractice for students during things like JAM and WAEC and stuff like that. So I was doing campaigns about that. I was going to the schools where those things were being done, and speaking to the students and stuff like that. And this is a picture from one of the campaigns that we had done at the time. And yeah, we had a Facebook page. I think they had like 500 followers, and we're so proud of ourselves at that time. But I'm just saying that like start now. Like you don't need to wait. There's no perfect time to start. Whatever it is you want to do in being an active citizen, in engaging in the policy and political space. Starting now, just building the knowledge, building the network. It's an ongoing thing, but I think just the knowledge, just the desire to want to start and do something something that you actually need to start now. So that's all of, and another thing is people don't realize that working in this. I feel like working in this sector is one of the sectors that will take you all over the world. Like this space that we're in. I don't know if you read like accounting or finance and stuff. I don't know if you can grow as fast. People that grow in this level. I have friends that are working in development and have gone around the world. I've gone everywhere, and I myself have had a fair share of that as well. Countries that you definitely like pay your flight or pay your whatever for you go on to like speak at events, you've been a fellow at multiple places, your work gets recognized, and you're definitely most importantly, you're making an impact in people's lives. In addition to all the fellowships and stuff, I think what's most important is that you want to leave a legacy. For me, at least, that's what inspires me, to leave a legacy beyond yourself. To be able to inspire people that there's me. I want my son's generation for them to go into university and not be able to write English tests, and not even realize that was something that was possible. The amazing things that we take for granted now, like democracy and stuff, but the people that fought for these things for us, and they left a legacy. And so that's kind of legacy I want to leave. So like, I'm sure you're in this space and in this field of work because you want to do something similar as well. And I think working in this space will take you all over the world. If you're committed, if you're doing the real work, and if you're actually making sure that you're impacting people. So if you're asking where can you start, earlier I shared platforms that you can build your knowledge. Now, if you want to start, let's say you want to ask for accountability on various issues, there are 3 platforms here that are shared. These are not all of the platforms. Trust me, I don't know everything. So there are many more platforms out there. So one of them is Promise Tracker by Advocacy. Advocacy has just recently launched Promise Track as a platform where you can track promises from elected representatives at the state and national levels. I think they're even going to the local levels. Oye will clarify that. But Promise Tracker helps you to track promises. So if someone had promised that in my first 100 days, I will do X, Y, Z, and he hasn't done it, it's like 200 days now. Actually, it's more than 2. It's almost like 300 something days already, right? And they haven't done it yet. Maybe what you can do could be to start asking for accountability on that. So say, oh, you promised that in your first 100 days, you release all the records of finance, or you would fix this road, or you will fix the issue around lights or something, in a particular state or local government. Why haven't you done it yet? You could see the promise on Promise Tracker, and that could be where you get that information to go hold the person accountable. There's also Gulf Spend, which is a platform that Budget had built. Actually, Gulf Spend and Tracker are both budget projects. Gulf Spend shows you how much the government is spending on especially the federal government is spending on a month by month basis. What they're spending on, who they are contracting, and how, and like where's the money being paid to, basically. So if you go to Gulf Spend, you can find all that information. Like journalists now use that platform there to get information, to ask questions of government folks. So do well to check that out. Tracker also helps you see projects that are currently going on. So what are the projects? So you can use Tracker to like see what's happening, but you can also use Tracker to report what's happening. So if the governor had said that he had done something, and then you go to that place, I don't see anything, you can use your phone, take a picture, go to Tracker, report it. And other active citizens will also join you to advocate for that particular issue as well. So these are just 3 platforms. Like I said, there's so many more, but these are like, this is a quick step. This is where you can start. You're looking for where to start. This is where you can start. At least you can get information and you can begin to use that to advocate for issues. And the reason is that there's so many problems in our country, guys. Like there's so many there. There's somebody that I feel like even our elected like representatives they don't grasp how complicated the issues are. And maybe that's why they come in and they're not able to even do anything, because they first don't have the understanding of what the issues are. I'll show you a couple of maps just to explain some of the issues. Now, this is just for security, right? This is by the Africa Center for Strategic Studies. They're showing us where the security threats are across the country, right? If you look at the key there, there's the militant Islamic groups in the northeast. So across Maiduguri, coming down across the northeast. There are criminal gangs all across the country, really. I mean, you can see from the south, up there in the north, in Katsina and Kaduna. The people who coming from Niger and stuff and do things and then go back. There's the farmer-header conflict in the Middle Belt. So all across that area. And now it's now spreading down to the southeast. So you're seeing it happening in Enugu, in Imo, and stuff like that. There's piracy, sea piracy and stuff happening down in the south. So there's a lot of sea piracy and then kidnapping people on the sea and stuff like that. So if the security budget, because every year in Nigeria over the past 15 years, the security budget is always the biggest chunk of our budget, right? So if we're spending, let's say, 1 point something trillion on security, what are we addressing in particular? Is it farmer header conflict? How is he addressing the Islamic groups or the the militant groups in the north? How is he addressing piracy in the south? How is he addressing even like the criminal gangs and stuff? How are we ensuring that the police is able to ask questions about that? This is just security. There's environment. If you look at the environmental challenges that we have, it spreads across the entire country, right? There's lead poisoning in Plateau, there are air pollution issues across the Niger Delta. There's rivers Bayelsa where they've been having gas flaring for a long time. There's oil spills and oil spillage. There's solid waste management across Lagos, Ogun, most of the states in the south, southwest. There's also lead poisoning in Edo State. So if you look at all of these things, like problems I make this advocate for, right? There's so many things. Unemployment is there. Like if you look at the unemployment chart, this is something that personally I've been let's say I won't say inspired by, but like I've been troubled by. It's always troubled me because I live in River State, right? And River State is like the oil and gas capital of Niger Delta. We're one of the states that have that sort of like produces a lot of oil that we use to support the country. And River State actually does have the highest percentage of working age people unemployed at about 40+%. So, I mean, I traveled to Qatar, I've traveled to the UAE, I've gone to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and stuff like that. And these people are basically living in a desert. So, if people in a desert can manage their resources so well and be innovative so well that they can afford to begin to pay their citizens, right? That's a country. So, let's even say our state, River State has like 5 million people each. If they can do that, why is it different for us in our own states? Royal producing states, let's even say there are states that have other resources across the country. Because if you look at our national resource map, it's all across the country. Why? And that's one question I've been asking. It also has inspired me to work on a couple of projects across the states in the tech space, building skills, helping people to work remotely and stuff like that. So, like if you look at the problems, you will definitely find solutions. And if you have a solution-seeking mindset, the problems are so many, and I think that there are so many places you can begin to advocate for in environments. If I even show you the map of like our GDP, how we spend, what disposable income is in people's pockets across the country, you see that there's so many issues that you can advocate for. And I think the best time to start is now. And I hope that this conversation we've had today had inspired you to begin to at least think of a tool, think like that. And I hope that you can start now, because the country needs you and the country needs all of us. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for listening.
Thank you so much, Ebenezer, for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure we all got to learn a lot. I found it really, really inspiring. Like it has really inspired me, to continue to take action right on the problems that we have in the country. And I must say that you have a very, very impressive portfolio. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing with us your wealth of knowledge and experience. We are really grateful. So do we have any other questions or comments concerning the presentation from Ebenezer before he leaves? If you have any questions for him, anything you want to say or get clarification on, now is the time. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you, Umar.
Okay, my name is Umar Aminu Umar, and actually I'm from Kano State. And first of all, I would like to use this opportunity to send my hearty appreciation for the very wonderful and brilliant presentation made by our guest speaker or presenter. And all your presentation had really motivated me and give me more exposure and energy to widen my experience to ensure that I contribute at my end with something little that I can for better Nigeria that we are all advocating for. And your experience and your presentation reaffirm that I can say I believe that Nigeria and the management or the leadership are two different factors. Nigeria, it is the same that exists in 1914 and to date. It is the same Nigeria that we are having. But the problem is the management or the leadership that we have. And I can say we, as the citizens, we are the one who vote the types of leadership or with the management that you want to see in Nigeria. So this is the issue or the problem that most or 90% of poor in Nigerians are not really believe or can't understand or separate that Nigeria is different. A leadership or the management we're having is different. That's why they are, confused to separate these two. So this issue is what makes them always losing hope in Nigeria. They are, even advocating for Nigeria should never be better, should never be corrected. We are an advocate for a good governance and better Nigeria. They are even trying to sabotaging or discouraging from the work that we are doing, even though they are taught, their advocacy, or they are taught should never had an effect on the work that we are doing. Rather, it will just, amplify us, give us more power, synergy, and experience towards making a lot in ensuring that Nigeria should be a better country now or sooner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Mark. Really well said. Thank you. And I actually agree with you that yes, our problem had been a problem of management. God had blessed us with so much all across the country. And I think that if we can even bring all that we were blessed with together, we would have been a really, really great country. But all hope is not lost. We're still, I mean, compared to the US, we're still a very strong country because the US is over 200 years old and we're just, 60 something years old. So all hope is not lost. And I think that if there's a generation that has all it takes to deliver the country, I think it's our generation. We have information, we have all that we need, and I hope that we can definitely contribute our own parts, just as you've said, to make our country great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. Favor, I can see Favor's hand up.
Yeah, I sorry, it was like I wanted to ask something, but it would be like something that will deviate a little bit. Although I would love to reach out personally to you because I had a conversation today.
My LinkedIn profile as well in the.
All right, thank you so much.
So you feel free. You guys can feel free to connect and keep the conversation going. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So that was what I was going to ask before Umar started speaking. I was going to ask you to drop your LinkedIn or maybe Twitter handle so that anybody who wants to connect with you can do so. But thank you so much for that, and thank you again for your time, Ebenezer. We all had a wonderful time. Yeah. So I've dropped the link to the attendance form. Please try and fill it out before we leave the call. Our time is fast spent, so I wouldn't want to keep us here for long. But try and fill out the attendance form before we end the session. And concerning the grants, like the sub grants that we asked you all to send in your applications for, we're still vetting the applications, right? And by this next week, early next week, we'll get to announce, who will be getting the grant to carry out their project or carry out the ideas that, they pitched to us through the applications. So, I think that's all. That's all from my end. If anybody has any other thing to say or any questions, suggestions, or whatever, I'll be taking that now so that in the next 2 to 3 minutes we'll be able to end the call. So that's true. Is anybody still having issues with the learner dashboard, having issues logging in or, viewing the courses on the Gibrain you are? Okay, I'll check that. Did you get the email I sent yesterday? Because I sent some email yesterday to those whose issues have been resolved. Okay, Zibia, I see your hand is up as well. Okay, yeah, Zibia, I'm still working with the developer to resolve your whole issue, but Jibrin's I think I already sent a link to the learner dashboard and a login detail to Jibrin. So please check your email. You can also check your spam, right, for for the email from us. Okay, there's a question here. It's about the grant. Does it have to do with like a personal project or creating or starting a foundation? Oh no. It doesn't have to do with starting an organization or foundation. It has your idea has to align with advocacy's promise tracker, right? Because the grant that we're giving out, we're actually sub-granting it. So it was given to us by an organization for our promise tracker. So the idea has to align with the promise tracker. It could be so a space you think we're not clean with the promise tracker, or just something around the promises that we're tracking or the states we're working in, right? Just well, the time to send an application is actually over. Right now we are getting it, and we'll be getting back you concerning the state of the application in this week. So thank you so much, everybody, for making our time this Saturday evening to be with us again today. We're really, really grateful, right? And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you again, Ebenezar. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Blues. Yeah. Stuttgart.